Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to another week of Locked On Stars. And today we're joined by Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan, and more importantly, the host of Spits and Suds. Gavin, how are you, good sir?
Man, I'm good. Stick tap, buddy. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Ready to rock and roll. Last night felt like a positive move in the right direction for Dallas after they've been in a bit of a rut. Just your quick overall thoughts on the Stars 5-1 win over Seattle last night.
Yeah, I think it starts with the net minding on this trip. It's been absolutely amazing. Just stopping the number of shots they have. You look at the save percentage between DeSmith and Ottinger. I thought Ottinger was terrific. Again, I think because they clinched the playoffs, Ottinger might not be talked about, but he made some key saves early to keep him in the game. And we're starting to see the blossoming of Rantanen with Hintz and Robertson and how good they were last night. And what I like to see is a lot of times it can come down to special teams, and you look at shutting down Seattle 0 for 4 on the power play and the Stars getting 2 power play goals. And that was really a big difference in the game because shot differential wise, since Miro Heiskanen's been out, this team has been completely different as far as the number of shots on net, just consistently night after night, not just getting beat in shots. And I know shots can be like deceptive, Joey, but they're getting beat bad as far as not being able to get enough pucks on net. Luckily, the pucks they are getting on the net happen to be going in.
Yeah, they got outshot 36 to 21 yesterday, but it felt like it felt a lot better than it did in some of those other games, like against Edmonton and in Calgary. I know they were outshot pretty handedly, but they were in full control of that game for the most part. And you mentioned the penalties. They're taking too many right now. Yeah. Bichel is having some problems with that, as a lot of young defensemen do. But fortunately, they have the best penalty kill in the entire National Hockey League, so it has been bailing them out. And let me tell you about Rantanen on the power play. I think he just gives Dallas another playmaker, and I've liked what they've done with him, and he's gaining more confidence. You can see it that he sort of understands how they want to attack. And when he's on that right circle, he just is such a threat. His ability to dish, whether that's to Rope or Robo, play it back to Harley. But what I really love about him on the man advantage in particular is his ability to carry the puck into the zone on entries. I think he's really helped out Dallas. And of course, they have the speed of Johnson, Rope, Hintz that have helped them out on that. But Rantanen is so slick and sly around the outskirts of the rink, just making those short little passes that you have to make on entries in order to gain the zone. And I think he's allowed the Stars to elevate their power play a bit, which has already been humming since he even joined the fray.
Yeah, I think when you look at this power play, it was getting better before Mikko Rantanen. But if I look at the kind of 2 power play units that were out there, if I'm the opposition, I can basically play my kill because I don't have to account for somebody. Add an elite player like Mikko Rantanen. What I was telling our Spits and Suds listeners is players like Mikko Rantanen create space. So even if they don't score, even if they don't pick up an assist, they need to be accounted for. Therefore, you're going to be leaning more over toward that side, and that's going to open up other players. For instance, the bumper position in the middle. If a defenseman, let's just say, is shorthanded, they're going to be taken, and that's all it needs is just a skate or two the other way, and that opens up that bumper position for a pretty good shot up the middle. So I think, and you're right, brings it into the zone. The other thing I noticed the other night was his two-way play in that skating back to disengage an odd man rush. And I think that's something that Mikko Rantanen might not get credit for as far as putting in the effort as a two-way player. So 11 points in 11 games. I think because he is quote unquote elite, people want 15 to 20 points already. And that's understandable. Heck, I was playing it conservatively. I was saying, let him become accustomed, and you're really going to see the Mikko Rantanen come October next, season. But now, and how he has performed in the playoffs, I'm really excited to see what he can do, because you need big players to step up in big moments. He's one of those guys that has proven in the past that he clearly, when he was with Colorado, could step up when the postseason begins.
They just needed some time to gel, and we have to give credit to Pete DeBoer for allowing that line to work through some of those issues, and now they're reaping the benefits of that. Well, the way Mikko too can just sort of attack his way into the zone at 5-on-5, not just on the power play, is something special. And you mentioned he creates space for other guys like Rope and Robo, who can create space themselves. But Stars have been killing teams on that bumper position too. I think that's been a big part of their turnaround on the power play.
Absolutely.
They work it down low to that goal line, and it's either Johnston, Rope last night. That was a heck of a goal too. I mean, he's on a strong side. Be able to snap that far side was a beautiful goal against Decor. But yeah, that's a great point. They've been killing teams in that slot area, which is good.
Yeah, and one other note that, once again, because they reached 100 points, because they clinched a playoff spot, it's kind of an under the radar aspect of last night's game. And that's Pete DeBoer skating an extra defenseman, making sure his players on the blue line specifically wouldn't be exhausted. And you look at the minutes of Esa Lindell and Thomas Harley, they're down about 8 to 10 minutes last night. That is a major difference compared to how they've been playing lately. And I think maybe he's concerned with the wear out factor. I think he picked this game for a reason. And not only do they get a little bit more off the ice time, but they don't have to travel. They can go to their hotel rooms. It was, I don't want to say it was a night off, because, they each played about 22 minutes, but it was an easier night for them. And you look, Matt Dumba played 18 minutes last night. So he logged a lot of minutes. So they were really pushing the back half of their blue line to give Lindell, CC to a point, and specifically Harley some rest.
Yeah, I'm curious if they feel they sort of have second locked up with what they've done here over the last 2 weeks. And that's the great thing about winning games, even when they haven't been playing their best or picking up points. And maybe they feel, all righty, we should have this locked up. We should have home ice. Now we can start to dial back some of the minutes on Harley and CC. And of course, this is just a one-game sample size, but maybe it drags out. And of course, we got the news that Miro's skating, so it's anticipation of him coming back. Let's make sure the other 5-6 defensemen are going to be fresh as possible. But what have been your thoughts over the last 2 weeks? I know yesterday was a great 2 points, one of the strongest games over the last, half dozen or so. What concerns do you have about Dallas? Because I think Stars fans have a ton of concerns, even though the Stars have been winning a lot of games. I don't know if there's a ton of confidence heading into the postseason. Where do you stand on some of their issues, whether that's defensively or goaltending if it doesn't show up, all those sorts of things?
Yeah, prior to the Seattle game, the 2 games prior, 92 shots on net. That's a massive concern.
Yes.
I mean, high quality chances, forward skating through the defense. So my number one is certainly the blue line. And can it hold up until the return of Miro? And that could be a first round without Miro Heiskanen. We'll see. But I think probably leaning toward likely that we won't see him, or if we see him, it'll be the back half of that series. So I think they just have to. They have just a few games left to shore up that defense and play better than they have. I think Thomas Harley has stepped up, and that's awesome. But after Harley and Lindell, I have some concerns.
Yeah.
I think CC's been fine. But obviously, as you mentioned, great point, Bischel, too much time in the box. And someone reached out to me today and they said, but Gavin, you want the physicality. And I said, I do want the physicality, but last night was a high stick. And then before that, it was a trip. So he's not, I don't mind like a check that turns into boarding because maybe the player shifted at the last second. That stuff happens in hockey. But you cannot spend 2 to 4 minutes in the box every single game. It just, now you're a liability on the ice. And so I think that's one of the things is the development of Liam Bischel and we want him out there, but
Mm-hmm.
we just can't have him taking penalties. So that's clearly, the second concern. And I mean, we'll see as far as the scoring. While the final score looked good last night, it has not been a barrage of goals, and we've seen it at key moments, but I don't feel as though the consistency is necessarily there. Still getting
Mm-hmm.
to know each other. So they certainly have the talent. They have the
Yeah.
talent to go to the conference finals. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel as though they have also a few things that if they go wrong, they could be exiting pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're scoring timely goals, which
Yes.
is a good sign. Like I don't want to damper anything that they've been able to do, but some of their play just has been unsustainable. You mentioned Bischel and some of the penalty issues. It's a good way to get yourself out of lineup too.
Yeah.
By Pete DeBoer in the playoffs, they just can't have you loading up an Avs power play 4 times, or just a couple of times a night.
Right.
And he does a lot of great things too. I'm starting to notice a lot of his board play. I think he's been really, really strong in terms of taking on pressure, contact, and being able to make a nice first pass. And that was something that really stood out that I thought was different yesterday as well. Dallas was able to get through the neutral zone a lot easier and get out of their own zone much more frequently than they had in the past. Look at some of those games in Alberta, and I mentioned this multiple times. They just look like a peewee team sometimes trying to get the puck out of their zone. It's just flipping it to the blue line, and it's held in. And it's like you can't allow teams to do that. And you mentioned the blue line. I thought their gap yesterday was something that really stood out. I thought they contested all Seattle's entries, whether that was 5-on-5 or on the power play. Those other games that I'll bring it up again, Edmonton, Calgary, there just seem to be sagging, and they're allowing the Flames and Oilers to just pour in and come with speed. And one thing that the Stars blue line does not have a ton of is mobility, especially when you're talking about CC Dumba and Bischel to some extent. Like, teams can expose them with some of their speed. And two, you saw it last night. You get a turnover at your own blue line, boom, they pour right back in and they score. So they got to clean up a little bit of those areas too. There's a lot of concerns. There's still some positives in there. I wouldn't say I'm the most confident in Dallas going into the playoffs currently, but there's still a half dozen games or so, and I just don't want them to limp in. I think that would be a really, really bad situation if they sort of go limping in. And if they had lost a couple of these games recently, I don't know if the belief is there. And I've said it too. Well, maybe it's an irrational belief in the dressing room, but hey guys, we've kind of sucked and we're still beating these teams. Like,
sure.
that can give you some confidence too, whether that's a bit ironic or not.
Yeah. Good teams find a way to win. And
Mhm.
they've found a way to get timely goals. You're absolutely right. And I don't want to hit the panic button on the D, but you're right. I feel like in third period, specifically against Edmonton and Calgary, it felt like a period long.
Yes.
You have a man in the box.
Hold on for dear life.
Hold on for dear life. And as soon as you clear the zone, you're so exhausted, you're just flipping it out. And here they come again. And you're not even like blocking them. And you're just allowing them to come back into the zone. And it just seemed as though it was shift after shift. So that certainly was a concern, but it felt as though they were a little bit better last night. Now they're playing Seattle.
Yeah.
And maybe that has to do with it. We'll see what adjustments Seattle makes tomorrow night. But, you can't say enough about DeSmith and Ottinger. They were absolutely huge. And I mean, Pete DeBoer, 3 100-point seasons. I love what he said last night. 2 things. I love that he said, never take it for granted when you make the playoffs. I also love that the team just basically went as if it was just 2 points.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't really celebrate. It was just like, okay, and they didn't back into the playoffs. They made the playoffs. And now they kind of have that Winnipeg carrot dangling above them with that game happening in a couple of weeks. So maybe that keeps them tight. Maybe they know because Winnipeg has some tough games coming up. So, that plus they have a game in hand. So I think they'll probably finish number 2. But at the same time, maybe that incentive of going after Winnipeg, even though you do get St. Louis most likely,
I know,
the hottest team in the NHL.
Yeah.
But I think I'd rather play St. Louis than Winnipeg.
Yeah, maybe they can make things interesting, and Winnipeg will seize up for the first time really all season. Gosh, they have just been an absolute wagon for 82 games, which would give me some worry if I'm Jets fans. Like, what happens if we drop game 1, or maybe we go down 2-0 in a series? That may be interesting. Alrighty, I have a big question for you after the break. And it has to involve Miro Heiskanen, and I'm interested and intrigued to hear your answer. So that's coming up in just a moment. Got the Final Four actually just up the road from us in Corpus Christi in San Antonio, right around the corner, which will be a lot of fun. And Houston has made it, so there's a little bit of Texas theme. So all good things in the March Madness, and it feels like it's been madness when it comes to Miro Heiskanen, and everybody's wondering about 4. There's theories that there's no way he's coming back. This is all for show, but a step in the right direction. Robert Tiffin tweeted out, I saw that Miro Heiskanen was skating. I think it was Friday. Could have been Saturday, but either way, that's a positive sign. But my question is, do the Stars defeat the Colorado Avalanche, if that is going to be the first round matchup, without number 4?
Oh,
I want to hear your take.
Wow. I thought you were going to ask me, do you play them with Harley or do you separate the two?
I think they do play together, though. We can dabble into that question as well. But
right. Boy, I'm not trying to scapegoat it, but I could see either team moving on.
Mm-hmm.
I really could. The question is going to be Colorado's goaltending. Even though they improved that area, man, did they were like, I don't even want to call it rebuilding. They were retooling. They got themselves the second line center in Nelson, who can play some center as well as wing. That's a big presence.
Mm-hmm.
They're just bigger. They're stronger. So that's going to be tough. I want to say Dallas. I'm leaning toward Colorado.
I don't think they can win. And I hate to say that. I really do, but I find it really tough. And I say that because of Cale Makar. If Miro's playing, he can be better than Cale Makar. We saw it last season. He outplayed Cale in that playoff series. Big reason why Dallas won. And I know there was some other issues with Nishushkin, and they lost Taves for a night, but when you have another number 1 defenseman that can counteract Cale Makar, I just think it's a huge difference maker. And as much as I think the world of Thomas Harley, he can't manipulate and play the game like Miro can. And that's why I don't have a ton of belief that they can beat Colorado without 4. I think they can make it interesting. Look, I think the Stars are going to be tough out. I think the Avs are going to be a tough out. I think it's really similar to last year. I think you could still argue the Stars have better depth up front. The Avs have the better blue line. But if you give me the Stars' best overall player in that series, I'm going to take Dallas. But without him, I wouldn't bet on it, is what I say. But I still believe, like, can they make it interesting? Could they squeak out a win? Yeah, I think so. Like Dallas isn't a terrible team without Miro, but I just think when you have Miro that can counteract somebody like Makar, I think that's I think it's just crucial to beat an Avs team that just is loaded. And McKinnon and him they make a world of difference.
So interesting question, Joey. I'm going to throw at you. For some reason, we don't talk about this. Not taking Cale Makar, is that a miss?
I don't think I can answer this objectively, Gavin. I truly believe that I'm too biased. I would still take Miro Heiskanen. You know what I want to talk about a bit too, to bring it up, since Mikko Rantanen's always called a merchant. I think people should look at some of the numbers with Makar without McKinnon, if you really want to be honest about who's maybe more than of a merchant. If you look at advanced numbers and some of the analytics, Makar, it's a big drop off without McKinnon in the lineup. But to be fair, everybody's going to be better with 29 with McKinnon.
Sure.
But that's tough.
Sure.
I would take
it's just, the whole merchant thing. It's like, oh well,
I hate the conversation in general.
Yeah, yes. I mean, Draisaitl and McDavid are out. Well, exactly. Hyman's not as good as he. Well, of course he's not.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't categorize it as a miss.
Yeah.
I think one player is really good. I think the other player is generational.
Yeah. No,
And I think
that's fair.
I want to see Miro Heiskanen get in the Norris race.
Yeah. Well, but to be fair too, he should be. He just doesn't score enough. And like
Exactly.
that's just not what that's not what about being a defenseman is, in all honesty. And then look, this is another conversation about they need to do what college hockey does in different conferences. The NCHC, they do an offensive defenseman award, a defenseman, and a defensive defenseman award. And so, unfortunately, when we maybe look back in another decade or two, when maybe Miro and Makar retires, there's going to be like, okay, this is kind of stupid that Miro never won a Norris. And look, let's be honest, he may never be a finalist.
No,
he may never be a finalist unless he pops off and has a point per game one year.
Yeah.
Which he could if the power play is really hot. But it's still a disservice to how good Miro Heiskanen is. And you say Makar's generational. I've always argued, I think Miro Heiskanen's a lot closer to Cale Makar than people want to believe, just because he doesn't light up the score sheet.
I would
again, this is me defending Miro because he's my favorite player in the world, and I'll always go to bat for him. So
this to me, for Stars fans, Locked On, Spits and Suds, these are third party. We'd love to be affiliated with the Dallas Stars, but the fact that we're having these conversations means that the Stars have gone to another level as far as coverage. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So sometimes if people say like, oh, you're being negative, I'm not being negative. I'm being objective with my opinion. And I think that's something to be excited about, because that wasn't always the case in this town. But with your podcast, with my podcast, with Razor and Heike and, everything going on, there's just a lot of options right now. And that's never a bad thing. I think one of the reasons we talk about Heiskanen, that we both feel as though Colorado can take Dallas, is because Miro would be locked on Nathan MacKinnon. Who's going to take MacKinnon now? I think that's going to be the matchup question that a lot of people are going to be. I mean, when he's on the ice, you somehow have to neutralize that speed or, neutralize him in some way. And that's very, very tough to do without your top defenseman.
I would love to throw it back to you now. Do you think the Stars would have a cup if they had Makar? Do you think they'd have one by now? Do you think anything would change necessarily in terms of the team's success?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay.
No. I mean, that's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah, if they did take him.
I personally feel, and people are going to think I'm crazy, but this is why I kind of think Toronto might make a run. And I'm going against history because Toronto never makes a run. But I love the skill and physicality mix that Toronto.
Yeah, they finally got it.
They finally got it. And goaltending is going to be a question. So with the Stars, analytics wise, they test extremely well. I wonder when you have to take that next step, when the rink gets smaller, can your guys come up? Now, I do think if you ask me, will Mikael Granlund score a big goal? Yes, I do. And I just think he's one of those players that comes up big in big situations. And that's what I love about Rantanen. He has experience doing that. So I don't know. I would like a little bit more physicality. I just don't think, I say that they only allowed one goal, but I just don't know if they can shut down opponents.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree, especially contending opponents. Like the Avs are going to have three lines that can roll, man. And if Nichushkin stays out of the mess, that's just another guy. Oh yeah, it's going to be a battle, that's for sure. Can't wait for today's title of the video. Gavin Spittle says Dallas Stars should not have drafted Miro Heiskanen.
I'm the only one that's asking the question, and I feel bad asking it. I'm not trying to be.
It's fair. It's fair.
For prospective Stars fans, this is a guy that has been season ticket holder for 20 years and just gave it up because of the podcast. Like I have been giving the Stars money for all these years, nothing would make me happier on a personal and professional level. But I was just thinking about it. And then I just related maybe to an NFL draft where the Cowboys select Tyron Smith, the Houston Texans select JJ Watt. Who got the better? I don't know, because they both are amazing and they're both going to be Hall of Famers. So I think we're looking at potentially 2 Hall of Famers. I was just throwing it out there.
I love it. No, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's for sure. And it got my wheels turning. That's for sure. So, well, you touched on Toronto, and boy, who knows what the first round playoff matchup is going to be there in the Atlantic. There's a lot of juicy matchups, whatever it is. So let's discuss some of those. We can take a look, of course, Colorado and Dallas some more. I know we touched on it a bit, but let's get a bit more NHL talk as a whole. We'll do that in just a moment.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from McDonald's, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a hamburger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
So we'll start with the Atlantic, because I find this just fascinating. There's still a race to see who wins that division. You talked about Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Toronto, whatever it is, I think it's going to be electric. I think Toronto and Tampa played last season in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. But if you get the Battle of Florida, my goodness, that could be fireworks in the first round. I think that would be the one series you could arguably say is going to have more eyes on it than maybe Stars Avs. But that's fascinating there. And that'll be a gauntlet too. And again, this is a hate on the current playoff format. It sucks that one of these teams is going to have to be out in the first round.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's what I was going to come back to you with. I don't like this. I don't like how the Stars can have they would be the 3 seed.
Yes.
And so they play the 6 seed instead of playing Colorado.
And then have to play the 1 seed the next round.
Exactly.
If it all goes that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that division, whoever the 2 versus 3, that's the matchup, just like it's the Central Division and that division, as far as 2-3 matchups that don't deserve to be fighting each other. But I could easily see someone coming out of that division for the Cup. John Cooper's done an amazing job. And you have to give management credit. Like, they took a lot of flack in Tampa for Stamkos, moving on from Stamkos. And I mean, Jake Gensel's been amazing for them. What a signing.
Hagel, like, my goodness.
Hagel.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Chicago, and I mean, I did this on a Spits and Suds podcast. I actually researched the trade. There are no players from that Hagel trade currently on the Blackhawks. They have 2 college players that were their first round picks that will likely be making the step up, but no players from that trade. And I think it was 2 years ago. Still with the Blackhawks.
Yeah, they played them the other week, and I'm just like, gosh, they have a lot of players. They just have like a lot of players, not just guys. Like, they got some players, and yeah, they're gonna be difficult. Gonna be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, Chiarelli's amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously Victor Hedman still has it. I mean, they have players, and it just seems like they continue to retool. Florida is going to be interesting. Does Bobrovsky come back to Bobrovsky levels? That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
How healthy is Kachuk going to be going in? But they have a lot of good players too. And then we've already mentioned Toronto. I mean, everyone talks about Austin Matthews. John Tavares is having one of his better years in his career. So Tavares, while Austin Matthews has struggled, Tavares has stepped up huge. I like what they did with Carlo, getting him in a trade at the trade deadline. I think their goaltending is more solid than it has been in the past. So I think Toronto is going to be interesting.
Let's bring it back to the West for a second, because you did touch on the hottest team in the NHL, St. Louis, which I love to see. I predicted at the beginning of the year they were going to get back in. Halfway through it, it didn't really look like they were going to be a playoff team. But boy, they've turned it around. And of course, former Dallas Stars head coach Jim Montgomery, I've always liked him. I wish he was still in Dallas, but that's not anything against Pete DeBoer. I'll take what the Stars have done over the last 3 years. But man, if you're Winnipeg, you're like, oh gosh, we may have to take on this team. And Minnesota is kind of just tail spinning, and that has to do with a lot of injuries. But what do you make of St. Louis in this turnaround? Hellebuck's awesome. Bennington can, I think, play to a Hellebuck level if he wants to.
Yeah.
I truly believe. We saw in the Four Nations, like he can play if he wants to.
And he's a different goalie since that Four Nations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have him. So many Star stories. You have the general manager, Doug Armstrong, that was with the Stars. You have the head coach, Jim Montgomery, that was with the Stars. You have assistant coach, Steve Ott, who was with the Stars. You have Ryan Suter with the Stars. You have Radek Faksa with the Stars. So some great stories in St. Louis, Stars related wise. I just think you look at what Doug Armstrong did as far as the taboo, you shouldn't go after restricted free agents. And what he did to get the two guys from Edmonton and the season that Broberg's having, and they just retooled so fast. It's really impressive. And mind you, they're doing this without Torrey Krug.
Yeah.
So I think, St. Louis, Winnipeg, that's a really solid first round matchup. And you're right. Winnipeg's probably like, what do we have to do? And that's also what I don't like about this format is it just, you shouldn't be penalized. And, we saw this a few years ago, who just squeaked in? Florida.
Yes.
Florida.
Yes. Yeah.
Pittsburgh lost to Chicago, I believe, on the final day, which allowed Florida to get in, and they went all the way to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So 1-8 is a gauntlet. I still think Winnipeg can win that series.
Yeah. No,
I think if you're asking me, I'd rather play St. Louis than Colorado.
Yes, no, I think most people would take that match. I mean, even last year, you can look at Vegas. I think they actually were the 8th seed. To be fair enough, if you actually did sort it 1 through 8, but we all know it was a little bit different than that. Do you have any belief for any other Pacific teams besides Vegas? Is Edmonton or LA doing anything for you? I mean, LA they look different. I thought they weren't going to make the playoffs. They've been sort of a surprise team for me, and they may play Edmonton again.
Yeah, I do like LA. They're an interesting, because they have the combination, and I'm like, okay, Anze Kopitar, like I almost want to be the PR manager for Anze Kopitar because we are witnessing one of the all-time great two-way players.
It's like Patrice Bergeron, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it.
No.
But I just think that, I think they have some really interesting players. So I don't know. Can they get over that Edmonton hump?
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest thing. Can they get over that Edmonton hump? But this might be the year that they can. But I could see Vegas coming out of that. I think if it's between Edmonton, LA, and Vegas, I think Vegas comes out.
I really like Vegas this year. Don't know why. I think they're just too deep again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's 4 teams that can win the West: Stars, Winnipeg, Colorado, and Vegas. And if I had to sort them in, let's say most likely, I'm not going to go odds or anything, just my personal opinion, I probably throw, I would argue putting Vegas 1. I really would. I think I could go Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado. And maybe that's backwards. But I just think that could be a gauntlet of a West. And I don't know. Winnipeg, of course, you still have issues like, can they do it?
Sure.
We've seen this before. Can they do it? Vegas has the experience. once again, they're just kind of going through the regular season. They're playing well. I know that they have some injuries here of late, but I could argue putting them first. But my goodness, I think they're a team, again, that's going to have to be reckoned with.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark Stone on the power play is tremendous. Jack Eichel's Jack Eichel. I think Aiden Hill, what he's done in net has been tremendous. So you're right. I think Vegas is going to be a tough out. I mean, we need to probably, I use the term gauntlet, but it's year after year now. I think parity in the NHL has reached a level like I haven't seen since I've been a fan and following the NHL. I think any team can beat any team in a series. Nothing surprises me anymore. I don't really look at 8 versus 1 as a massive upset if it happens. So I just think, and that's what makes the NHL so good as far as the playoffs.
Yeah, the Stars haven't had a easy series in a decade. I can't recall a series that they've won in 5 games. I not one off the top of my head recently.
No.
It's just even the games that they win in 6, it's like double overtime. You gotta put the nail in the coffin. But the first round's going to be fantastic. Okay. We can end it on here just because I think it's a positive note with Ovechkin in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
You think this could be a possible renaissance or maybe almost perfect ending to Ovechkin's career? I would love to see him get a cup. I was chatting with the boys here recently on the bus, and they mentioned we were just talking, just NHL in general. Like, I would love to see Ovechkin get a cup. I'm like, you know what? I would too. If there's one other team then that's the Stars to win it, I would think it would be awesome if Ovechkin gets the goal record, wins, and then he goes plays in KHL.
Yeah. I'm not sure he's going to get it this year. It's going to be, close. Going to be close. But isn't it interesting that Sidney Crosby eclipsed Wayne Gretzky the other day as far as, I think it's most years with a point per game.
Yes. Yeah.
So he breaks that record now. Ovechkin, Crosby and Ovechkin are always going to be intertwined.
Yeah.
But watching Ovechkin, what he did for Marc-Andre Fleury the other night, really showed me that it's not about him. And I think that's so cool. And I think he's enjoying the ride, which is great. But what a job by Washington retooling, and rightfully so. Jacob Chikrin getting 9 a year.
They're busy in the offseason too.
Absolutely. Players, and to get the goalie finally, which I thought that was a tough choice for Vegas, clearly, but to have the goalie now, they have the offensive firepower, they have defense, they have lost 3 in a row. They lost to Buffalo today. Just a massive, I think it was 8-5 or something like that.
Yeah. Thompson had a bad night.
Exactly. When everyone counts out Buffalo, that's when they start rolling off all these games.
Don't they do this every final month, right? Yeah.
Every. I'm already saying Anaheim's in the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
Just because of the way they're playing, and it's like, don't upset me. Luckily, Ottawa finally has proven everyone right because they finally got a goalie. But I think it would be an amazing ending. It's great for the league. I love that fact that people are going to be doing cut-ins. I love the fact that Wayne Gretzky is not only on this bandwagon, he's celebrating it. Wayne Gretzky has always been about hockey first. So there are so many good things. And you're right. It would be an amazing ending for him. It goes back to another argument that I have, Joey, not only about the playoffs, but why can't we count postseason numbers?
Okay. Yeah. Just
I don't understand.
Overall. Yeah.
When you look at career statistics, and then some of these guys are playing, 150, 200 games in the playoffs.
I've never even really heard this argument, but it's great. Well, no, you mentioned, because I've always thought about it when they bring up career numbers. I'm like, well, it does exclude like these playoff numbers, you know, like Pavelski. How many games did he play in the postseason?
Huge.
Yeah. So that's a lot of goals that you could add, and just because it feels like it's just an extra, and we always like playoffs are the most important. That's like we talk about Rantanen, like we love his numbers in the regular season, but he's like a point per game in the playoffs. Like that's why you go out and get players like him. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I think the hockey playoffs this year, coming off the momentum of the Four Nations, absolutely loving that ratings are up. People are filling the seats. This is a great time to be a hockey fan. Not just that, but the Frozen Four coming up, like college hockey right now. There's a buzz about it. And that's absolutely terrific. I mean, I'm online and saying, yeah, Minnesota, boy, they got screwed the other night against UMass. Like, I mean, I'm in. So I think that's terrific. And, I think hockey in general is gaining a lot of momentum. The salary cap with a big increase after this year. It seems as though the players union and Gary Bettman are getting along well. We're talking about expansion. So this is all great. And it's going to be, I'm so excited. And how can you not root for Alex Ovechkin to make the Stanley Cup Finals?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That would be something. The grade 8 making a run. By the way, to your Gophers comment, boo-hoo. Could care less if the Gophers get in or not. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. Oh, by the way, as we're recording this, Denver's up 2-0. Shocker, Denver's going to beat BC. There's a lot of time left, but I'm an NCHC biased stan, so those East Coast teams ever. But there's going to be one number 1 seed that gets into the Frozen Four. Because that would be Western. I think all the other ones have been knocked off, which is remarkable. But it also shows the growth of the game. A lot of these teams are good, like Penn State. They're going. UConn got into their first tournament ever. Bentley got in for the first time ever. So yeah, there was a lot of interesting games. But yeah, only one number 1 seed is going to make it, which is crazy. And now, and if it stands, you got 2 NCHC teams again. Shocker.
And if I'm the head coach of Denver, I don't know. I mean, the money might be too good, but I mean, someone might throw the bag at him to get him into the NHL, but why? Why would you leave?
No, it's just, it's such a good program. It's such a good I mean, year in and year out. And they're a defending champion. Yeah. Carl's great. I've had the chance to actually talk to him personally just because of my time in college, and I've done some NCHC stuff and where I've run into him. And yeah, I mean, it just could not be a really better human being. And obviously he's one heck of a hockey coach. But Monty sort of had that conversation too before he left. It's like, well, why, we just won a national championship. Why would you leave? But I think he had aspirations to move on to that point, but yeah, David Carl is something. So no, it's a great time to be a hockey fan in general. That is for sure. Frozen Four will be a lot of fun. Playoffs in a couple of weeks. I think all Stars fans are just ready for it to start. I already have nerves thinking about game 1 against the Avs. I can already feel my stomach turning a bit. And I'm not going to be able to eat during the game and all that good feeling. But that means it matters. So that's always.
I'll just say this, Joey. Like, as a Stars fan, like, if you want to be disappointed if they get knocked out, totally cool. But what I said on Spits and Suds, please don't go after Pete DeBoer.
Yeah. We got it. Yeah.
The guy through the injuries this year puts up another 100-point campaign. I mean, if they lose to Colorado, they lose to Colorado. It happens.
What's the biggest overreaction if they do lose? DeBoer, or is it going to be Otter?
Wow. Otter.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
more than
similar to what they did to Hellebuck.
I think Stars fans for the most, they love Pete. I really do. I don't think they would go after. There's going to be some people, of course, but I think the overwhelming majority would go after Otter.
Like, all great goalies have about 5 to 8 bad games a year.
Yeah.
Just going to happen. So, I mean, you look at Jake Ottinger statistically and how he's played lately. I mean, he's dialing in at the right time. I just think he's like the quarterback in the NFL. He's going to be highly criticized, and I get it. He's not. I mean, Anton Hudobin, when he made a save, it looked like the flashiest save of all time.
Yeah.
Jake Ottinger is very much like Ben Bishop.
Yeah.
It's not going to be flashy. Sometimes it is, but he's going to make the majority of the saves. And you know what? Like last year, we were all, Jake Ottinger. And I'm like, the guy's goals against is just over 2. I think he finished the playoffs with like 2.2 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting on the, I mean, shouldn't we be talking about the power play?
Yeah, that went like 0 for 20 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I always think he's the least of the Stars' worries half the time. And look, you brought up a bunch of concerns earlier in the episode, and you brought up 3 before you even got to the goaltender. And I think those are more crucial and are going to have more impact on whether the Stars make it, because I always got belief in my boy Otter too. Always ride for him. I'm an Otter apologist, as they say. Is that
we're
like
so lucky in Dallas. I mean, we're lucky to have Jeff Reese. I mean, we look at the goaltending run we've had with the Hudobin playing really well, but then Wedgwood playing well, and now DeSmith playing well. Ottinger, Bishop was a Vezina finalist. So, I mean, it's been a good run for Stars goalies.
Yes, no, they've. I mean, it's one thing they've usually been pretty decent on. Is their net minding, and look, there's some teams that can just never figure it out. We've seen that. LA for a while, they weren't very good. Quick shows up. Oh gosh, you get a couple cups out of it.
Right. Yeah.
It certainly helps. Okay, I thought we were going to end, but I do want to just throw this question out because I don't know if we'll see each other again until the playoffs, and we're going to have more important things to discuss. Maybe this is an off-season question. It probably is, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. With the $12 million extension for 8 years for Mikko, where do you factor in Dallas and how they go about their business over the next few years? And even Jamie Benn, you got Tyler Seguin. Where do you just see them have to go from here, and just kind of some of the transactions that are going to have to be done?
Sean Shapiro and I always joke, we call these June conversations. And Joey, I wish we started the program with this because I get so excited about the offseason.
Perfect.
All right. So if I'm like Mr. Money for the Dallas Stars, I go to Jamie Benn and I say $3 million a year, 2 years.
Okay.
And if he says no, then I say, okay, sorry. And people can get mad. I understand what Jim Nill was saying. As long as I'm here, Jamie Benn's going to be here. Maybe that changed with Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah.
I also look to spin somebody or spin something. You're not going to have a lot of draft capital to acquire a premium defenseman to complement Miro Heiskanen or be on that second unit. So maybe you can bump Esa Lindell up or something. I personally, I know you and I disagree. I want Miro and Harley to be on different pairings.
Yeah.
Just because I need puck moving defensemen. I think that's been one of the Stars' issues.
Yeah.
So I do look to bring back Nils Lundqvist based on the injury. I give him the same deal. Hopefully he'll want that deal.
Yeah.
So I do that. Matt Duchene is on the books for Nashville for over $6 million. I believe this is the highest year for Matt Duchene with Nashville. Okay. After that, it goes way down. So I am replicating the deal I currently have with him, $2 to $3 million a year. If he accepts that, great. We'll do another 1 year deal. So Matt Duchene comes back into the fold. Personally, I would love to see Granlund back, but if that means Dadonov has to go, I understand.
Yeah.
So that, I personally feel as though Blackwell's underrated, but he's not getting enough ice time. I think someone might pay him a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, he needs to go. But I feel as though every time he's in there, he provides a lot of energy. I don't know what they're going to do as far as Sam Steele. It's a 2 year deal with Sam Steele. So that's kind of I think you have to do it. Same with Beck. So there's a lot of dealings, but I am efforting to bring back Ben. I'm efforting to bring back Duchene. I am efforting to bring back Granlund, but they have to be good deals for me. Yeah,
no, it's sort of like with Mikko too, to some degree. Like we got rumblings, like, okay, you get 12 and no more than that. Like you either take it, otherwise it's off the table, and we'll go figure something else out.
And Joey, I think Stars fans would understand if they came out and said, we offer Jamie Benn a contract, because Stars fans are smart enough to know that he's coming off an 8 year deal where he was paid a lot of money.
Yeah, he was paid handsomely.
Right.
Yeah. And look, there's a little bit of depth in production this year. He just hasn't scored enough on the power play.
No.
Hasn't got a ton of those looks, and that's where he's sort of cleaned up, especially recently when he's had some of these, nice years. He's just getting a lot of power play points, or well, really power play goals, and that hasn't been the case. And he's still sitting on 399, which is crazy. So hopefully he gets that done soon. I agree with you a lot, man. I mean, how much should Tanev hurt too? Gosh, imagine if the Stars are rolling with Tanev though.
Oh,
I like
be
it's
amazing.
such a good spot. Harley, Tanev, Miro, Tanev, whatever you want it to be. Oh, he would be such a big factor in what hurts. But again, he was too expensive.
Too expensive. He
Yeah.
was too expensive, and there's that whole tax thing, which a lot of us didn't know about. Where it would have been his first residency in the United States as far as a long-term residency.
Yeah.
So therefore he would have had to pay a hefty Canadian tax. So that would have been millions of dollars out the window, and his home team is Toronto. So it all made sense. But I truly believe that there is another Tanev out there if the right deal is out there. I mean, I look back at what Colorado did a few years back, getting Taves from the Islanders, and I think it was for a second round pick or something like that.
Talk about another Islander, Noah Dobson.
Yeah, exactly. See what you can do as far as the wheeling and dealing offseason. I'll tell you, if they get knocked out this year, I want to run it back, but I want to run it back with some differences. I don't think you can keep going to the well and saying, well, this is the year, or Miro was injured. If Miro wasn't injured, I don't know. I think you kind of have to change the makeup just a little bit. Tampa has, Colorado has. These teams are reinventing themselves, and I think the Stars have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be really intriguing over just the length of Rantanen's contract, how they go about that. Because like if you get a couple of years in and you still don't have a cup, let's say 3 years in, there'll be a lot of questions being asked. And again, it's so hard. It's so hard to win the Stanley Cup. It's so hard to win. But if you're not consistently, like if you're not getting to the Western Conference Final, maybe you're out in round one, whether it's this year and next, there's gonna be a lot of hard questions. How do you retool? How do you get back to that level? So no, I think that's that'll be an intriguing thing over the next decade here in Dallas about how the Stars go about that. The good thing is, but I think we have to give credit to Jim Nill for he took a swing this year. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people, well, he'll never go and make that big deal, never go out and take that huge swing. And this year he did. And I know like Tanev was a big swing, but the money wise really made sense there. I mean, like that was incredible how he got that job done. But like he put the money where the mouth was with Rantanen to get him here. So
he had a chance to get an elite player, and he did.
Yeah. And I'm not complaining about it.
No,
he's a lot of fun to watch. He's a lot of fun to watch.
He's amazing. Like that. I mean, you have really, really good players, but not as good as Rupe Hintz is. He wasn't elite.
Yeah.
As good as Jason Robertson was, he's not elite. Mikko Rantanen's elite. I mean, we're talking top 10 in the league.
Yeah. No, I do not disagree. Abs and Canes fans may say differently, but I think us in Starsland are just happy with what transpired about a few weeks ago. Well, Gavin, that was great stuff. Went for about an hour, which is good. I appreciate you hopping on. Thank you for all you do for Stars content, man. People love Spits and Suds, as they should. You get on great voices, just great people overall. So give your platform a shout out, and maybe any future guests you have here in the workings maybe soon. I would love to hear.
Yeah, thanks, man. So we're very fortunate, and whether it's Robert Tiffin, who you mentioned, Sean Shapiro, David Castillo, they all write for D Magazine. Or if it's did a great interview this past week with Allie Simpson, Frisco native. She's with the New York Sirens at the PWHL. We've had Hannah Bilka on from the PWHL. She's out of Capel, Texas. So, trying to do as many interviews as possible. You've been great for I think you and I love talking with you.
I appreciate that.
So it's like, I mean, I like the perspectives of others, and I love being able to throw something up and just say, hey, I saw this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And get different perspectives. And that's what I love. And we started the podcast to grow the great game of hockey. It was very simple. Grow the great game of hockey. And that's why I have other people other than just stars. I try to talk NHL. I try to go around the league. Former players come on because I love hearing the stories. So that's what we try to do. We try to be on after every single game with a quick recap. So, and we try to have fun as well, because that's the goal, is to have fun
especially over 82 games. You can't be mad all the time. You can't overreact on a Tuesday night. Sometimes you just gotta
right. There are these trips where you're just like, really, Seattle on a Monday night starting at 9. Okay, that'll be
fun. Yeah, it'll be
if
awesome.
it starts at 9.
It's crazy. ESPN, well, TNT really.
Yeah.
It's funny because I know you've been trying to get on the North American Hockey League commissioner, but I know you've reached out, and I hated myself because he actually came to Corpus the other week, and I interviewed him during the intermission, and I totally forgot to give you a shout out and to get you his contact info. I was like, crap, I need to do that. But now that he knows me, and the interview went like swimmingly, as perfectly as I could have thought. So I think he enjoyed some of my questions, and maybe I'm gonna have to reach out personally on an email and see if I can get you his info, because I would love for you to chat with him too, just because the expansion the league's going through, there's just a lot of stuff. And they're located in Dallas too. So
absolutely. And you're director of officiating for your league.
Yeah. How did that go, by the way?
So good.
What those? Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Candid. Talked about parents.
Oh,
and how to handle that situation in the NAHL. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talking about why calls are made. Do they even up calls? It was fascinating. I mean, I love people's stories. And the story he told of being a referee in front of Vladimir Putin for the World Juniors and looking up there, and they're watching him as Vladimir Putin, things like that. I mean, like
actually enter their mind while they're doing their job.
Yeah. Like having to go through massive security checks to get into the arena. Yeah. So different aspects like
maybe
that.
I shouldn't call this tripping.
I know. Absolutely. So, I mean, I love the stories. I'm fascinated by the stories. I love when people say, no one's asked me that before. Absolutely love going through EP ringside on some of the former players.
Yeah.
Like, Rich Peverly, for instance, who's high up in the Stars organization, way back. Even before juniors, he played 2 games as a kid with Rick Nash.
Wow. Okay. 2 games? It's just like an all-star tournament, maybe, that they just got thrown together or something?
Yeah. No, he just joined the team late.
Okay. Yeah.
So I asked him about it, and he started laughing. He goes, "You're the 3rd person in my life that's asked me about that." And like, I don't know. I was like stick tapping myself. I was excited,
That's good research by you.
Well, I just love doing the research and like looking back on the years of these players and just seeing the random people they played with.
Yeah.
And then, I'll ask about, something and I'll ask about the leading scorer that year. And he'll be like, "Oh, wow. Well, he was a doozy, and he'll start talking about this guy, and that's amazing to me.
Yeah, you get the players that don't make it, but were like dudes, like in certain leagues. Like, gosh, I mean, some of the kids on the ice race, they've played in Canada, they've played overseas. Some of them played in 3 different junior leagues. Some of them been in like 7 different spots. Now they're here, and just like all those experiences they have in junior hockey at really such a young age, like as teenagers, is astounding sometimes, because I didn't go that route. I was just like, I'm going to go to school and be a normal person. And they're just going all these different places, and they run into different guys, and you'll be like, "Oh, I played with this kid. He was a beast." Like just those stories are always fascinating.
Yeah. I think I was talking to Al Montoya, and I mentioned like a scorer that I had never heard of. And I'm like, "Boy, this guy was putting up points." And he's like, "Gavin, that's my best friend."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's like, "I just talked to him prior to your interview." And I'm like, "That's amazing." Like, it's just, I love hockey is such a tight knit community. And I feel as though when players come on and they have a comfort level, like me asking Justin Ritzkovian, like, would I be called Spitzy?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I think, if you were on my team, you'd be called Spit. I love making them laugh, and I love making them feel comfortable that it's like, we're going to talk hockey, but we're also going to talk a lot about other things in your career.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that. Stars fans in general definitely appreciate that. I see all the love you get on X and Twitter and social media, which is all very well deserved. And I'm glad that we get to catch up every once in a while and chat. It's good for different opinions and perspectives. And it's good that I always have a good relationship with my old boss. I try to
you, man. Yeah. I mean, you've taken Locked On Stars to new levels, and you deserve it. And absolutely, man. I'm so happy and proud of everything that you've done. It's you're a true talent. I always say we hated to lose you, but we're going to enjoy watching you.
I do appreciate that. Stars and Kraken tonight. This is going up on a Monday, so maybe a 9:15 puck drop. So get the coffee ready, and we'll break it down tomorrow. Gavin, again, thank you so much. Of course, be sure to check out Spits and Suds. You get it wherever you can, a podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. So that'll do it for today's episode. Man, we went for an hour. Heck yeah, this is a great episode for people. So this will be good for the Monday morning commute. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow, Stars fans.